We bleed different colors, come from different countries and different leagues, but we all have one thing in common: to grow the beautiful game. We are the Independent Supporters Council.
In this video, we're taking a look at 2018 Pride and how all of our supporter groups and ISC celebrated it. Let's take a look. Before we hear from our members about how they celebrated Pride and why it's important to them, let's take a quick look at a few facts. June is LGBTQ Pride Month, and while most leagues, clubs, and supporter groups celebrate Pride in this month, not all do, and that's okay. Fact 2. This year there was over 36 Pride Nights between the United States and Canada, even more if you count the ones that were not officially recognized by their front offices. Fact 3. Many of you participated in Pride Raiser this year. With over 861 pledges, you guys raised over $50,000 for various charities in the United States and Canada to help the LGBTQ community. Fact 4. This year, Colin Martin, a player for the Minnesota United FC, came out during their Pride Night. You go, Colin Martin. Fact 5. In 2018, we are still fighting for equality for everybody in the United States and Canada, and we also want to let people know that they are always welcome in the beautiful game of soccer, no matter if they're a player, coach, or fan.
As an ally, I don't understand the things that impact our LGBTQ plus members anywhere near as much as they go through. What I do know is that, honestly, it just seemed like the right thing to do, participating in Pride. It, at its root, is treating people decently and equally. And I didn't give it much more thought than that because it's just how things are, until I saw all the posts thanking us for our TIFO, and had a special moment where I was standing in the section about ready to drum when a man who was proudly waving this pride flag that another member had made out of his own pocket, not paid for through SG funds, hugged me with tears in his eyes saying thank you, and all I did was approve the TIFO and suggest that one of the people in the photo, the image, would be a brown or black woman. I didn't do anything, and here I was being thanked for it. And in that moment, I guess I thought of how over time we've had more and more people who are different than the heteronormative norm in this country in positions of leadership in our SG, and it's just how things work. So I would say really it made me think more about things, but it's not, I don't want to say it's not going to change how I do things, but it honestly was just, this is just who we are. This is how we do. These are things we bake into our decisions because we're trying to be as open and welcoming as possible, because that's our mission. So going forward, the reason why we'll continue to participate in it is to show that we uphold the values that we say we have, that we possess, that we hold near and dear. We need to live that, not just say it. So as long as those are things that we value, that's just how we will do things.
Why is it important that we have Pride Nights? For me, as someone of the LGBTQ community, knowing that I have a community of soccer fans where I am welcomed and accepted is huge. I wouldn't be involved with my supporters group if that wasn't the case. But for the sport as a whole, I think it's important that we have Pride Nights because someday I don't want it to be headline news when a player comes out as gay. That said, I am so proud to support a club and a community that makes it okay for Colin Martin to come out. And I am so proud and just in awe of his courage to do that. And I hope we have more people who have the courage like that to do that, because visibility is so important. Pride night every night, guys.
Megan Weston of the Spirit Squadron says, "There are players, coaches, and fans that shouldn't have to feel invisible, and a place where they should be able to show their love for their team, their stadium, or one another."
When I was growing up and I realized who I was and I came to terms with my sexuality, I looked to sports for examples. I tried to find somewhere that I would fit into this athletic community, and I didn't. Because coming out as gay in the late 90s, no one was openly out. No one was comfortable with who they were, and it always made me feel like that I never really had a place in athletics and I never had a place in sports. And then flash forward 20 years later, where I get to see Colin Martin come out on his Twitter the day of the Minnesota Pride game, and it made me realize that there is a space for us in this community. There is a place for openly LGBT people to be accepted and to be a part of it. Pride Night isn't just about celebrating gay culture, it's about celebrating who we are as people. And every club should have the opportunity to embrace that diversity, to embrace that sense of welcomeness. MLS is one of the few leagues, if any, across the world that is openly campaigning against homophobia. And to have a Pride Night for every club, for every supporters group, for every organization would mean so much to our group and mean so much to those kids who look up to those athletes, to make them realize that it's okay for them to be who they are. And it doesn't matter who you love, and it doesn't matter who you are. It matters that we all accept everybody for no matter what they are.
Adam Sell of the Midnight Riders says, "Supporter groups and teams need to hold Pride Nights every year to demonstrate that we're not going to be required to separate our identity from our interest. That fans and players should be free to open up about who they are and not face the level of harassment and abuse that they would have even 10 years ago. I think we're achieving that in New England. I believe that everybody in the Midnight Riders understands that our gender and identity diversity is an enormous strength of ours. And I believe the Revolution are seeing that it's not just good PR to have a Pride Night. It's the right thing to do."
Ask you about the bigger backdrop here, because sports events are not exactly a bastion of inclusion, maybe until recently, but I guess you sort of, swimming a bit against the tide with an event like this.
A bit, and that's one of the reasons that we wanted to make Pride Night such a central part of our calendar as the Midnight Riders, and try to work with the Revolution to make it a central part of theirs, because we know that there is such, to your point, a tide of antipathy against this particular community in the sports community. And we want to make sure that people are aware that, especially at Revolution games and within the Midnight Riders, that all fans are welcome. That is inclusive of anybody with different genders, different orientations. Everybody is welcome to come be a fan, and they will be supported and accepted with us here. So that's one of the reasons that we try to make this a more thorough and complete event every year.
Well,
That's a wrap on our look at 2018 Pride. We know there was a lot missed, but there's also a lot to come, and we can't wait to see it. Want to know more about the Independent Supporters Council? Check us out on Twitter at ISC Supporters or on Facebook /Independent Supporters Council.